Today, we're going to practice converting with metric units. And the beautiful thing about our metric system is that everything is in terms of powers of a 10. So we're either multiplying by a power of 10 or we are dividing by a power of 10. Today, we are only going to focus on length. So all of my labels will have meter of some sort, whether it is kilometer or millimeter. They will all have that M in our labels. So when we convert, this chart is very helpful in the fact that if I am moving the decimal to the direction of number of spaces shown on the ladder. So if I am going from a large number like kilo, which means 1,000, and then I'm taking that down, let's say, to a kilometer to a meter, which is my base unit, which means 1, I have to multiply. But if I'm going in reverse and I'm starting at meters and I am going up to kilometers or kilometers, depending on how you prefer to pronounce, I would be dividing. And these are by a power of 10. So if I did that with my example of going from a kilometer, 1, 2, 3, to a meter, I'm not dividing by 30. And that's where we have to be really careful, because what it means I'm doing is I'm doing 10 times 10 times 10, which is the same as 1,000, which is the same as, whoopsies, 10 to the third power. So I would be moving my decimal 3 places to the right. So let's look at some of our practice problems here. So I have 7.5 centimeters and I want to change that to millimeters. If I am going from centimeters down to a millimeter, that means that I am multiplying by a power of 10 and only one power of 10. So it means I'm going to move my decimal 1 place to the right. So my answer would be 75 millimeters. Going from, if I have 8/10 of a kilometer, I want to know how many centimeters are in that. I am going to start up at kilometer and I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get down to centimeter. So that means that I'm going to move my decimal 5 times to the right, because what I'm doing, whoopsies, is I am taking 0.8 and I am multiplying it by 10 to the 5th power. So I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, which means I need to put in 4 zeros. So I would have 80,000 centimeters. If I'm going from meters to centimeters, I'm still going down. So I am 1, 2, twice. So that would be 6 times 10 to the 2nd power, because I went 2 times down. So that means that I am going to move my decimal, which right now there's no decimal there. So I'm going to add a decimal and move it 1, 2 to the right. So there would be 600 centimeters and 6 meters. For my last one, this is the only example I've given where I'm actually going to go in reverse in the other direction. I'm actually starting at millimeters, mm, so milli, and I am going up 1, 2, 3 steps to my base unit of meters. So that means what I'm actually doing is this 48,000 divided by 10 to the 3rd power. It means that I'm going to take 48,000 and I'm going to add a decimal because it's not there, but I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 to the right. So 48,000 millimeters is the same as having 48 meters. If I wanted to compare these lengths, so 25,365 centimeters to 30 meters, I have to make sure that they are in the same unit. So I have to convert one of them so that way they are either both centimeters or both meters. I'm going to go ahead and convert them to both centimeters. I'm going to take a moment real quick though, and I'm going to get rid of my highlighting here. Okay. So at 25, I wanted to take my meters to centimeters. So I'm going to go from meters, 1, 2, to centimeters. So that means I'm going to take my 30, and I'm going to multiply it by 10 to the second power. Or I'm going to move my decimal 2 to the right to make this, so 1, 2 to the right, 3,000. Well, which one's bigger, 25,000 centimeters or 3,000 centimeters? So this is where I would use my greater than symbol to say that 25,365 centimeters is greater than 3,000 centimeters or 30 meters. If I'm comparing 3.6 kilometers to 36,000 meters, if I'm going from kilometers, I'm going 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that means that I need to take 3.6 and multiply it by 10 to the third power, or let me erase that. 3.6, and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 to the right, which is 3,600. So these are actually equivalent to one another. So they're equal to. If I have 52,800 centimeters and I'm comparing that to kilometers, again, it would be easier for me to go from kilometers to centimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that I'm going to do 1 times 10 to the 5th power, which is the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the same as 100,000. So I've got 100,000 centimeters. So I shouldn't have written that so close. I'm sorry. 100,000 centimeters or 1 kilometer would be bigger than 52,800 centimeters. Lastly, we've got millimeters to meters. I'm going to go work backwards on this one. You can go either direction, but I'm going to change my millimeters to meters. So 1, 2, 3 times that I'm going to have to move my decimal to the left. So I'm going to add a decimal point to the end here and move it 1, 2, 3 to the left. So then I would have 1.2 meters. So 12 meters happens to be bigger or larger than 1,200 millimeters. Lastly, if I would complete the table, I'm going to use my chart to help me out. And so if I have 1 kilometer, that would mean that I have 1,000 meters. If I have 500 meters, I would have 0.5 kilometers because I have to go up 3. So I'm dividing by 3, or I'm moving my decimal 1, 2, 3 to the left. If I have 0.1 kilometers, I'm going to move my decimal 3 to the right. So 1, 2, 3 would leave me with 100 meters. Lastly, if I'm going from centimeters to meters, if I'm going to go up from centi, 1, 2, then that means I'm going to move my decimal 2 to the left. So I am left, let's not do that color, with 50 because I moved my decimal 2 to the left. From meters to centimeters, I'm going down 2. So I'm multiplying by 10 to the second power, or I'm multiplying by 100. So this would leave me with 500. And then if I'm going from meters to centimeters, I again am multiplying by 10 to the power of 2 or by 100. So I would move this 1, 2 to the left, which is the same as 10 centimeters. So now you're going to go to Canvas and you're going to do some practice on the Canvas calendar. And then you're going to choose one to explain your steps and how you converted from one unit to the other. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out with our conferencing feature or